Yeah, mate, we got hards on. We're going to the end.
Hards on. Didn't have one watching that race. Wasn't the most exciting race, was it, guys? And it's going to be hard to come across an exciting race when the constructors and drivers is already wrapped up. Now we're free to go. And it's just about what records Verstappen can break now. But that being said, I think regardless of all of that, it was quite a boring race. EP3 of the Hards On pod. We're going to the end with the Hards On, and there's been a lot of rumours going around about the name of this pod and its sort of links to certain things or what it maybe sounds like. The name is completely innocent, and I want to just clear that up now. It's called the Hards On Pod because we got hard tires on. My favourite tire, and we're going to the end, and that's purely it. I won't stand for this damning, just slander, basically about. I don't. It's so vulgar. I don't even want to say what people have been saying. The name sounds like sort of hard on. No way, in any shape or form, is that what the innuendo. Let's try and move past it, guys. It's very childish. Okay, it's very childish. I wouldn't do that. Hards on podcast is. Let's keep it family friendly. Okay, wouldn't do that. Anyway, we'll start off with qualifying as we always do because I'm not talking about practice 1. I'm not talking about practice 2. And I'm not talking about practice 3. It'd be weird if I decided practice 1, practice 2. No, boring. Practice 3 though. Yeah, that one will do. No, talking about none of them. Qualifying. I watched it. I didn't miss it this time. Did anything interesting happen in qualifying? I'm trying to remember. It looked like Hamilton could have stuck it on pole for a hot, sweet, but yet brief, fleeting moment. And I think actually it was out qualified by Russell, which is first time in a while. And I think, surprise, Verstappen comfortably took it. It was just an okay qualifying. Nothing the commentators were saying was coming true. I remember he was like, Williams looking really strong going into this, got a good chance. Albon, because let's be honest, the Williams could look like a championship winning car. He's never going to say Latifi's got a good chance to get into Q3 no matter how good the car looks. He's like, yeah, Albon's got a pretty good chance of getting into Q3, which just shows the level already. They're in the same bloody car, but even if when we think the car's strong, we're not even mentioning Latifi's name because we know. Spoiler alert. I mean, I say spoiler alert, happened already. Neither of them get out of Q3. Neither of them get to Q3, he was saying. And they finished P19 and P20 in qualifying. So you couldn't have been further off, Crofty. I'm just going to be real. Norris was like P6. Ricciardo was like sort of mid. It was just very mid. And is Mexico meant to be a good track for racing? I'm not sure. Again, I've not got all the knowledge in that department yet. It's like a track that's exciting, everyone loves it, and Perez gets a bunch of love because he's Mexican and whatever, and like people always gonna go on about Mexico, I feel like. But I think apart from Monaco, if you're not a track that's good for racing, and I've said this before, why do you exist? Like, Monaco should be the exception because it's got the fucking celebrities and it's got the yachts and it's a technical race, so we can see the drivers in a different element here. This one's less about overtakes and more about, I don't know, strategy maybe from the team or qualifying and just making sure not to crash into a wall. It's a different type of talent, and I can get that, right? And I can even understand having similar tracks, so maybe tracks that are also maybe street circuits that are hard to do, not much overtake. But what I can't stand for is tracks like Mexico, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but tracks like Mexico is everything I hate about the sport. And it's nothing it's nothing against Mexico. I've got nothing against Mexico or Mexican people. But the track sucks, and it might have good things going on outside of it. I really like the way it looks. Like, I like the stand that you drive through towards the end of the lap. That's cool, and maybe it's been on the calendar for a while, so it's got like some sort of historic nature about it. Like, maybe some sick things have happened there, making it historical. But there is too many tracks, right, that are not good for overtakes, and it's like they're not Monaco. Like, if you tracks that should exist, if I don't, it sounds so basic, but that's the point I'm trying to make. It's so basic. It's meant to be exciting. We've got tracks here that aren't good for cars overtaking, which is what we want. But it's not like it's like a street circuit. It's just a normal track, but yeah, it's crap at overtaking. So what does it have to offer then? I can't. Every track should be fun. Like, people look forwards to Spa and like Silverstone and like. What else is good for overtakes? Like, for example, another example, like to Mexico here, Catalonia. Why do we have? I think actually this year's race at Catalonia wasn't bad, or was it last year's? But like, it's just so boring, man. Like, and they do testing there and stuff, and it's like always on the grid, and we've got to go to this shitty Spain track where you can barely overtake apart from like one straight, and yet it's on the calendar every year. And as I said, with Monaco, you get it because there's all the extra razzmatazz to like cling on to. Why do we need 7, 8 other tracks that are bad at overtakes and haven't even got the razzmatazz? Haven't even got the technical flair that the Monaco requires? They're just there. Like, can we? And I'm not saying, oh, abolish these countries, never race there again. Don't they have other tracks? Can't we make some new tracks? Like, they should be good. I want good races. And the worst thing is as well is when it's like, you wait. There's like a 2-week gap or a 3-week gap, and then the first race back after a 2-week or 3-week gap is like Catalonia, and you get like a crap race. And what's also like, it's boring, yeah. Monaco's like no one can overtake anywhere, but what I think is just as bad is when there's a track where you can overtake, but it's in one area and it's just on the straight. So it's just, you follow the car around throughout the whole lap, you get to the straight, you get the DRS, and then you overtake them there. It's just so boring. I like. Is it Hungary? I think Hungary's good. Austria's good. I think usually fun times there. I mean, considering it's a street circuit, you usually get exciting stuff at. I mean, let's be honest. Can I pull up what would be the easiest way to do this? I can't think I can do it right now. Could I? No, I don't want to risk it. I want to like look for all the tracks and just be really brutally honest with like who should get abolished. Like just straight up nuked off the calendar. And I don't care if they've been there since the beginning of time. This is what you need. You need someone in the boardroom. Right, here's my CV. You need someone in the boardroom who's not got any emotional connection and can just say how it is. Like, there's going to be old fuddy-duddies in there who's like, oh, back in my day, I watched Peter Dinklage race this track in 1940 and he set it on fire. And it's like, mate, okay, grow up. You know what I mean? We're trying to get the kids invested here. I'm actually going to try and bring some tracks up so I can do that, actually. It's not a bad idea. It's just I've got a lot of things plugged in and I got to unplug one of them to plug someone else in. I don't know what is. Can't do that. Can't unplug that because yeah, can't unplug that. And then that, yeah, okay, you know what? We'll do it towards the end. Yeah. We'll talk about this specific race first and then we'll do the track thing at the end maybe. Or we'll just do it next week after. What is next week? Oh wait, I think there's not one. I think there's a break and then they do the last 2 at once. And I've somehow forgotten what the last 2 are again, which I always do. Let's just jump straight into this week's race, Mexico. What a fun time it was. Everyone got what they wanted. You know, Perez got on the podium and got the fans cheering his name. Verstappen got his win. He became the most winnable guy in a season. Hamilton finished second, which has been pretty regular recently, or just over the season. Like, in terms of his podiums, that's another thing I wish I could pull up right now. the actual stats, because his points, I don't know where he's sitting in the table. I think he's below Russell. He's below Verstappen, obviously. He's below Perez. I think he's below... Is he below Sainz? I don't know if he's below Sainz. He's below Leclerc. And I think Sainz as well. That would make it 2 Red Bulls, 2 Ferraris, and his teammate Russell. So I think he's 6th. That being said, I think he has more podiums than Sainz. How many... God, the season's been... It can get so long at points, it's just hard to remember. Like, I don't know how many podiums Sainz or Leclerc has, but he's got more podiums than Russell. Would he have more than Perez? I don't think so. Perez, I just push out my mind whenever he gets on a podium because I'm just not a Perez fan. When he wins stuff, I just don't even acknowledge it. Like, genuinely, I just turn the race off and like go on about my day. And it's not like I have negative feelings towards Perez. Like, he's not offending me in that way. He's just more. He's just not even in my periphery usually. The only exciting thing to really talk about the race though, because obviously Hamilton, who was never really close. I mean, the team tried to convince him into believing he was like close at some points. Like, he's like, guys, we're not close, are we? Like, we're not gonna win this. And they're like, no. Think about it, Hamilton. You're on the fresher tires, and he's on the old tires. So once we get to the end of the race, his tires are gonna be falling off, old boy, and you're gonna get him. And I don't know if they believe that shit they shove at him, but it never happened. It never got anywhere near. He finished like 15 seconds behind. His tires never really fell off like that. Don't know what data they were looking at, or how much they was really believing that. But yeah, no, comfortably held second though. It was just one of those things. No one could really overtake anyone apart from one man, one boy. And I don't care if he was on better tires at the time. I don't care what it was. It's just nice to see him back. I genuinely get more feeling and emotion in my bones. I genuinely feel actually alive seeing Ricciardo go from like P9, P10 to P7, then seeing Perez get on the podium. He just does nothing for me, Perez. And I've always said this. It's like, currently right now, who's the more talented driver? Sergio Perez and Ricciardo? It's obviously Sergio Perez. In terms of even overall, who's the better driver in terms of their whole careers? You could argue, yeah, Sergio Perez is better than Daniel Ricciardo over his whole career as well. That's up for debate. I've not been watching the sport long enough to even be able to make an educated answer at that. But what I can say is, who makes me feel something, negative or positive? Ricciardo. When Ricciardo is on the podium, he makes me feel something. Main character syndrome, yes, that's actually an insult. But to him, in this sport, it works. He brings the eyes. He brings the drama. He gets up. He says the one-liners. He says lines as if they were written for him by a movie director. And to be fair, after his little driver of the day performance at Mexico, he didn't actually go crazy on the mic. His team tried to guess him a bit, and he was just kind of like, yeah, all right. This is a terrible Daniel Ricciardo. It's just like, yeah, alrighty. Yeah, good job. Yeah, and then he didn't say anything because he knows I've not got a seat next year. I've been shit most of this year. Yeah, I got driver of the day today. I made up a couple of places, but I'm not exactly gonna scream about it. You know, it's a bit weak, and it's like I don't want him gone. Here's the thing. It's like I don't want Daniel Ricciardo out of F1, but I also don't want him here if he's just gonna be in like an Alfa Romeo either, or whatever's not going to be challenging next year. You know what I mean? Like, you want him in a car. Like when he was at Renault, McLaren, there's always a chance he could still do something or have the odd race where he shows up. If he's like finds a seat next year, which he probably won't, but it's just in like a car that's always going to be at the back and it's going to be like never getting like. If he was in like a Aston Martin, obviously the seats are taken for that. But if he was in Aston Martin, like how Vettel's been from most of this year, it's just more pain. You know what I mean? I wish I existed. There's how do you say this? Before Daniel and after Daniel, and I exist AD. You know, I never got to exist in a world where Daniel was really at his peak and got to enjoy that, and I just want a bit more of that. because realistically, there ain't enough people like Daniel on the grid. When they win, I truly feels like I like Leclerc, but when he wins, he doesn't. I want a bit more emotion. You know what I mean? Not really many people offer that for me. But hey, that honey badger, more like horny badger, because he had Crofties bricked up in that fucking gantry. Crofty was fucking pole, south pole. He was sprung. Daniel Ricciardo was moving that was shaking that chassis. Round thing in his face. Crofty got sprung. Cause he just crashes in to he's like it just seemed like classic Ricciardo. It was like, oh, I'm the last of the late breakers. I'm gonna go for it, and then you just like completely makes Yuki drive over the tire. Yuki's screaming down the mic, and you're thinking, there you go. Daniel's probably got a bit of damage, and he's probably going to finish that P15, and you got a 10-second penalty. He's probably going to finish dead last of this race. But no, he's like, fuck it. Guess I'm going to overtake some people then. This is a terrible accent. I'm tired. And he does just that. He's like, fuck it. And he's on the better tyres, but he's just like, overtake. And then what's even better is he doesn't overtake everyone, get to P7, but then because of his penalty, finish outside the points anyway. Overtakes everyone, and then creates, within the last 10 laps, 12-second gap to mean that even with his penalty, still P7. And that in its own way, the crashing, even though that's a bad thing to do, kind of added a bit more drama. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you relate this to football, you listen to the commentators in football and they're always like, oh my God, this is just a joy to watch. We are so privileged. This Man City side, this is fantastic. And it's like, no, it's not. If you're a City fan, yes, City are fun to watch. But City aren't box office. They're not fun to watch for the neutral or normal human being. City are boring, man. Fun to watch. Chelsea under Lampard, fun to watch. Liverpool, usually box office. Box office, fun to watch doesn't always mean you're winning just non-stop. Verstappen, what he's doing right now, this isn't box office. Chelsea under Lampard, it was goals scored and goals conceded, comebacks and slip-ups. And Daniel Ricciardo, the whole crashing into someone, his wrongdoing, getting a 10-second penalty, then overtaking everyone and making the penalty basically void, that's box office. And to be fair, if you're watching a race and that's the thing you take out of it as the box office moment, you can tell it's probably a bad race. Anyway, but yeah, this is episode 3 of Hards On talking Formula 1. Hard week to talk when the race was what I think was, just pretty dire. But we get through. Thanks, guys. See ya.